You're not just tired. You're misplaced. You've been showing up, smiling, responding, but deep down, you feel like something sacred is missing, like you're standing in rooms that don't feel like home anymore. And no one even notices you fading. But what if I told you? This disconnection, this loneliness, it's not a mistake. It's not rejection. It's Allah calling you closer, not through words, but through emptiness, not through punishment, but through a quiet, personal invitation to come back to Him when the world no longer makes sense. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That quiet feeling that you don't belong where you used to. That what once felt familiar now just feels distant. It's like your soul is sitting in a room, but the rest of you doesn't know why it's there anymore. And it hurts. Not because you're weak, but because your spirit is being pulled by something higher. Something you can't yet see, but you can feel. That's not confusion. That's invitation. 1. The room feels full, but your soul feels unseen. You walk into a room and everything seems normal. People talking, laughing, smiling, life going on, just like it always does. But you feel like a shadow standing in the corner, like your body is here. But your heart checked out a long time ago. You sit quietly. You listen. You nod when someone says something funny, but deep down, you're not really present. It's like there's an invisible wall between you and them, and no one else can see it. But you feel it in every word, in every pause, in every second. You look around and wonder, why do I feel so alone, even in a room full of people? Why do their words sound far away, like echoes I can't hold on to? Why does their energy feel loud, but not warm? You used to fit here. These were your people. These were your spaces. But now, it just feels heavy. You don't know when it changed. You just know that something inside you has shifted. And it hurts, not because they pushed you away, but because your soul doesn't belong where it used to anymore. At first, you might blame yourself. You'll wonder if you're becoming too distant, too different, too cold. But what if that's not the truth at all? What if this ache in your chest is not rejection from people, but a pull from Allah? What if He's removing your comfort from those places, so you no longer stay stuck in rooms that were never meant to carry your next chapter? What if the silence you feel isn't a void, but a clearing, a spiritual clearing, a sacred pause, a divine invitation? You see, when Allah wants to draw you closer, He doesn't always start with miracles. Sometimes He starts with quiet detachment. He makes you feel like you're drifting away from the world, so you'll finally start drifting toward Him. And the strangest part? No one else notices it. To them, you're still there. But you know, your heart is elsewhere, longing, searching, tired of pretending, craving something real. This is not weakness. This is not a sign that you're broken. This is a sign that your soul is awakening. Because Allah doesn't allow you to stay where you're no longer growing. He allows the smiles to feel hollow, the words to feel distant, the moments to feel empty. So you'll stop finding comfort in what's fading. He's not pushing you away, He's pulling you back, into solitude, into sujood, into silence, into Him. So don't hate this stage. Don't rush it. Don't force yourself to belong in rooms where Allah has already started removing your light. You're not invisible. You're being recentered. You're not being ignored. You're being chosen for something quieter, something higher. This feeling, this distance, this emotional withdrawal, it's not a breakdown. It's a divine redirection, because before Allah gives you something bigger, He removes you from everything that would make you too small to carry it. And if right now you feel unseen by the world, Maybe it's because Allah wants you to be seen by Him, and only Him, until you remember who you truly are. 2. You keep getting left out of what you used to crave. There was a time when you wanted to be everywhere. In every conversation, every circle, every plan. You wanted to be included, remembered, valued. You used to wait for the message. Used to check if they thought of you, if they saved a seat for you, if they made space for your presence. And when they didn't, it stung. That silent pain of being overlooked. The ache of watching others move forward together while you were left behind. You tried to shrug it off, told yourself it was fine, but deep down, it made you question your worth. Why do I keep getting left out? Why does it feel like I'm no longer part of the world I helped build? But look closer, not with your emotions, with your soul. Because what if the invitation stopped? Not because you weren't good enough, but because Allah was protecting you from what you no longer needed. What if the things you used to crave, the people you chased, the places you felt validated in, the conversations you once found exciting? What if all of that was slowly becoming a distraction? And Allah saw that. So He began to subtract, quietly, without announcement, without drama. The messages got less frequent. The plans went ahead without you. The excitement faded. And in its place, there was silence, loneliness, stillness. But hidden beneath that stillness was mercy. Because sometimes the worst thing Allah can do is give you what you beg for, even when it's no longer meant for you. But when He loves you, He lets the things you once worshipped slip out of your hands. So you'll stop grasping and start surrendering. You didn't get left behind, you got lifted out. You outgrew the version of yourself that needed those spaces, and now Allah is pulling you into something higher. A place that doesn't need attention, likes, or validation. A place where your value isn't measured by how often you're seen, but how deeply you're protected. The people who forgot you, that was their test. The silence you feel, that's your elevation. You're being moved into a season of becoming dash. Quietly, slowly, painfully, but purposefully. And the reason it hurts so much is because you still remember the version of you who wanted to belong so badly. But you're not that person anymore, and Allah knows it. So He's removing the crumbs of comfort, because He's preparing you for the table you were always meant to sit at. Alone first, with Him. So if you're being left out of what you used to crave, let it go. Don't chase what Allah is saving you from, because what you're losing right now might be the very thing that would have blocked what your soul was begging for all along. You're not being rejected, you're being rerouted. Back to the one who saw your heart before the world ever knew your name. 3. You start feeling unexplainably tired around certain people. You can't explain it. But lately, being around certain people just leaves you drained. It's not something they said, it's not a fight, it's not even their fault. But their presence feels heavy. You used to enjoy talking to them, used to laugh without thinking, used to feel light, relaxed, even safe. But now, even small talk feels like pressure. The conversations feel forced, and after you leave, you're not energized, you're exhausted, not in your body, in your soul.
And you start asking yourself questions quietly.
Why do I feel so tired after being around them? Why does my chest feel tight? Why do I need time to recover after every encounter? You try to ignore it. You tell yourself you're overthinking, that you're being sensitive, that it's just a phase. But what if it's not? What if this tiredness, this silent draining of your spirit, is actually Allah's mercy? What if he's making certain energies feel heavier because your soul is becoming lighter? You see, when Allah starts pulling you closer to Him, He doesn't always do it through miracles. Sometimes He does it by making your soul allergic to what no longer feeds it. What used to entertain you now feels empty. What used to comfort you now feels fake. What used to keep you busy now just makes you tired because you're not the same person anymore. And Allah knows that. So He begins to close the doors, not by force, but by fatigue. He makes the energy in certain spaces feel unbearable. He makes certain conversations feel meaningless. He makes certain people feel distant, even when they're standing right in front of you. Not because you hate them, but because your soul is being protected. You're outgrowing their version of you, the version that used to laugh at anything, the version that used to keep quiet just to be accepted, the version that sacrificed your peace just to belong. Allah is saying, not anymore. You don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't have to fight. You don't even have to announce your distance. Just pay attention to what drains you and what revives you. Because your soul is telling you where Allah is calling you, and anything that steals your peace is not from the one who created your heart to rest in Him. That unexplained tiredness around certain people, that's not mood, that's not ego, that's protection. Allah is cutting cords quietly, so you don't stay connected to what would have slowly destroyed your inner light. And when you finally start listening to that fatigue, you'll realize it wasn't that you were broken. You were just becoming too whole to survive in places built on pieces. 4. You suddenly begin missing Allah without a reason. There's no adhan playing, no lecture in the background, no reminder flashing on your screen, but something inside you pauses. You could be scrolling, lying in bed, driving in silence, or just sitting quietly in a room you've been in 1,000 times before, and then it happens, without warning, without noise. You feel it, that sudden ache, that strange softness in your chest, like your heart is calling out to something, but it doesn't know how to speak. And before you can even understand what's happening, you whisper, Ya Allah, not because someone told you to, not because you planned to, but because something deeper than your mind remembered Him. And in that moment, you realize something you've been ignoring. You miss Him, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, trembling, tearful kind of way, the kind that makes your eyes sting, even though nothing is wrong, and everything is. It's strange, isn't it? You weren't thinking about Allah a few minutes ago. You weren't making dua. You weren't listening to Quran. But your soul was, and it missed Him before you even noticed. That's how gently Allah pulls you back. Not through fear, not through force, but through longing. Longing that appears in silence, in tired nights, in empty rooms, in the middle of success that still feels incomplete, or in the middle of heartbreak that still hasn't healed. It's not sadness, it's not guilt, it's remembrance without a reason. And when that longing hits, when that soft whisper of Ya Allah slips from your lips without planning, that's not random, that's not small, that's a sign that your soul is still alive. Because no matter how far you've gone, no matter how long you've been distracted, Allah never erased your name from His mercy. And when He misses you, He doesn't punish you. He awakens you from the inside out. He lets the world go quiet, so your heart finally remembers what it was always created for. Not noise, not applause, not people, Him. So the next time you feel that soft sadness, that suddenly turns into a longing, don't brush it away. Don't numb it with distractions. Don't silence it with scrolling. Pause, breathe, and answer it. Because that feeling, that sudden missing of Allah, is not weakness. It's the beginning of your return, and maybe, just maybe, He missed hearing your voice too. 5. You feel drawn to solitude, not because you're sad, but because you're awakening. There was a time when silence scared you. You needed people. You needed noise. You needed to be surrounded by energy, even if it drained you. Because being alone felt like being forgotten, and being forgotten felt like you didn't matter. But now, something has shifted. Quiet moments feel safer than conversations. Empty rooms feel softer than crowded ones. Solitude no longer feels like punishment. It feels like peace. You find yourself canceling plans you would have rushed toward before. You sit in your car longer after arriving home. Not because you're tired, but because that silence feels like something sacred, something only your soul understands. And when someone asks what's wrong, you can't really explain it. Because the truth is, nothing's wrong. You're not angry, you're not depressed, you're not bitter. You're just becoming. It's not sadness that's pulling you away. It's awakening. Allah is calling your soul inward, away from the noise, away from the pressure to perform, away from the version of you that needed to be seen, just to feel real. Now you crave what the world can't give. You crave your own thoughts, your own space, and moments when it's just you and Him. You find healing in being unseen. You find joy in simplicity. You find strength in sitting with your own silence. Because that silence doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels full of something holy. And maybe you don't realize it yet, but this desire for solitude, it's a sign that Allah is preparing your heart for something higher. Because before He elevates you, He isolates you, not to punish you, but to rebuild you, without the distractions, without the noise, without the pressure to be anything for anyone. In solitude, you remember who you are when no one's watching. In solitude, you remember how to talk to Allah, not with fancy words, but with soft whispers from a heart that's tired of pretending. This withdrawal you're experiencing, it's not disconnection, it's realignment. You're being tuned back to the frequency of your fitra, your original self. The self that was never meant to survive in a world addicted to noise. The self that was always meant to find strength in sujood, not in attention. So don't force yourself to reattach. Don't guilt yourself for needing space. Don't chase what your heart has outgrown. If Allah is pulling you into solitude, it's because He's about to pour something into you that the world was too loud to let you hear. You're not walking away from people. You're walking back to yourself. And deeper than that, you're walking back to Him. 6. You start looking back, but you don't feel bitter anymore. You used to look back and feel the sting. The memories weren't just stories. They were wounds. Every time you remembered, it felt like the pain was happening all over again. You'd play it all in your head. What they said, what you did, how it ended, how unfair it was. You'd lie awake at night thinking, why did that happen to me? Why didn't they see my heart? Why was I left to carry all the weight of what they broke? But now, something has changed. Slowly, quietly. And maybe you didn't notice it at first. You still remember the faces, the places, the conversations. But the sting is gone. The bitterness has faded. It's like the pain finally exhaled. You no longer want revenge. You no longer need closure. You no longer replay the past to prove your worth. Instead, you see the wisdom in it. You see how it protected you, how it shaped you, how it pushed you closer to the one who never left. The same event that once shattered you now humbles you, because you realize if it didn't happen, you wouldn't have discovered the strength you carry now. You wouldn't have cried to Allah the way you did. You wouldn't have found your voice in sujood. You wouldn't have learned how to walk away from what was never meant to stay. The past didn't just happen to hurt you. It happened to wake you, to peel away the illusions, to show you that Allah was with you, even in the moments you thought He wasn't listening. And now, when you look back, you don't ask why anymore. You say, Alhamdulillah, because even the darkness was lit by His mercy. This is how you know you're healing. Not because the memories disappeared, but because they no longer hold you hostage. You can finally remember without breaking. You can finally forgive, not because they deserve it, but because your peace deserves to be free. Allah is showing you that your story was never about staying bitter. It was about becoming better. Not loud, not perfect, just honest, just whole. So if you've started to look back and feel peace instead of pain, know that this is not weakness. This is divine maturity. It means Allah is giving you new eyes. Eyes that see mercy where you once only saw mess. Eyes that see wisdom where you once only saw loss. And most of all, eyes that now see Him. In every heartbreak, every delay, every detour that once confused you, because you weren't being punished, you were being redirected toward the version of you that knows how to rise. 7. You cry over things you never told anyone about. You're not even sure what triggered it. Maybe it was a quiet moment, a memory, a voice, a sudden wave of emotion that came out of nowhere. And you just broke. The tears started falling before you could explain why. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, slow, sacred, and no one saw it. No one heard it. Because you never told anyone what you were really carrying, the things you kept buried, the heartbreaks you downplayed, the betrayals you brushed off with a smile, the pain you convinced everyone, even yourself, that you were fine with. But you weren't fine, you were just functioning. And somewhere along the way, you stopped talking about it. Because people get uncomfortable when your pain doesn't come with neat explanations. So you stayed quiet. You laughed when you were supposed to. You said, Alhamdulillah, even when your heart was silently screaming. But Allah saw it all. And tonight, when you finally let those tears fall, not because of something new, but because of something you never healed from, that was His mercy in disguise. Because the tears you cry over things you've never spoken about are the most sacred kind. They're not for the world. They're not for sympathy. They're not for fixing. They're for release. You don't need to find the perfect words. You don't need to explain the whole story. You don't even need to understand why it still hurts. All you need to know is that Allah knows. He knew when they didn't notice. He knew when you stayed strong for everyone else. He knew when your heart was begging for relief, but your lips stayed silent. And now, He's giving you permission to feel it, to stop carrying it alone, to stop bottling it up just to be the strong one. Because even strength needs a place to collapse. And what safer place is there than in the presence of the one who never needed an explanation to hold you? That moment of breaking, where the tears flow from places you never named, is not weakness. It's intimacy with Allah, the kind of closeness that doesn't need to be spoken, the kind of closeness that makes you cry without words and still be completely understood. So let it out, not to people, but to the one who already knows. Let the tears fall. Let your chest rise and tremble. Let the ache have a voice, even if it's just a whisper of, Ya Allah, I don't know what to say. but I'm tired. Because in that moment, you are not alone. You are being witnessed. You are being softened. You are being healed. And no one has to see it for it to be sacred, because sometimes the most powerful doers are the ones soaked in tears no one else will ever see, but Allah responds to instantly. 8. You feel like you're not where you belong, but you can't explain why. You look around at your life, and nothing looks broken. People see you and think you're doing okay. You go to work, you smile when expected, you show up where you're supposed to, but deep inside, you feel it, a quiet misalignment. Like your soul is sitting in the wrong chapter of its story. It's not sadness exactly, it's not boredom, it's just this subtle, aching discomfort. Like your spirit is walking through a house that isn't yours, wearing clothes that don't fit anymore. You don't know how to explain it. You can't point to a single thing that's wrong, but still, your heart keeps whispering, "This isn't it. This isn't where I'm meant to stay." And you start asking questions silently. Why do I feel so misplaced in a life I once prayed for? Why does everything feel like it fits on paper, but feels off in my heart? Why do I keep sensing that something deeper is waiting, but I don't know where or what? That feeling, that quiet restlessness that you can't explain, that's not confusion, that's guidance. Because sometimes Allah doesn't shake your world with explosions. Sometimes He stirs your soul with a whisper, a nudge, an invisible pull away from the life you're in. Because the life He's preparing for you requires a different version of you. He lets the comfort fade. He allows the joy in your current circle to disappear. He removes the sweetness from your routines so you don't settle. Because you were never meant to build a permanent home in a temporary chapter. And if you stayed here, if you forced yourself to fit into a season your soul has already outgrown, you'd start shrinking. So Allah makes it uncomfortable, not to punish you, but to wake you. He's loosening your grip on this life, so you can reach for something bigger, something purer, something that aligns not just with your plans, but with your purpose. That feeling of, "I don't belong here," is a sign that your soul remembers something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. It's proof that there's more, that there's better, that you were built for something beyond where you are right now. And no, it won't make sense to the people around you. They'll say you're lucky. They'll remind you how good you have it. They'll tell you not to question what's working. But what they don't hear is the sound of your soul calling you home. Not a physical place, but a spiritual one. A state of being where your heart is aligned with your Creator, where you stop performing and start breathing, where you stop pretending and start becoming. So if you feel like you're not where you belong, even if you can't explain why, don't ignore it. Don't numb it. Don't silence it. That discomfort is not failure. It's not spiritual confusion. It's spiritual preparation. Because Allah doesn't remove your comfort without a reason. He's shifting your soul out of what you were settling for and into what you were written for. So if you've been feeling left out by everyone, let your heart hear this. You were never forgotten. You were chosen. Chosen to be pulled away so you could be pulled closer. Closer to the one who knew your name before the world ever gave you one. Because when Allah isolates you, He's not leaving you behind. He's preparing to walk with you into a version of life the old you couldn't survive. You weren't left out. You were called in by the one who never needed a crowd to find you.